You don't need an ancient prophet to tell you that the world in 2024 can be a pretty scary place. But like clockwork, this guy pops up every year to tell us, I told you so.
Inside the precog, who predicted it.
With so much chaos already unfolding in the world today, what if we tell you that things are about to get worse? Scholars and interpreters have just found shocking prophecies about 2024 from the writings of Nostradamus, a 16th century astrologer, known for his prophecies of doom, which have always come to pass. This is the same man who predicted the rise of Adolf Hitler, the death of King Henry II to the assassination of President Kennedy, and his very own death. Nostradamus's prophecies are ones that have evoked global fascination and fear, and mind you, what he has said about 2024 will make you shriek. Wondering what these prophecies are and what they mean for the world? Join us as we explore the mind-blowing predictions of Nostradamus, which we suspect for 2024. Background on Nostradamus. Nostradamus, born Michel de Nostradam on December 14, 1503, in Saint-Rémy de Provence, France, would come to be noticed by a lot of people in the Renaissance period. Interestingly, he was born into a well-known, wealthy, historically Jewish family, but would grow to make his name for himself. During his lifetime, Nostradamus was a respected astrologer and physician. However, he is mainly known today for his groundbreaking prophetic writings. So how did it all start? Nostradamus's journey into the world of prophecy began after establishing himself in medicine and astrology.
He was expelled because there were complaints about him as a druggist. He was working on certain types of medicine on his own, which was something that he was not supposed to do as a doctor.
Where he gained notable recognition for his work during outbreaks of the bubonic plague in Europe. Following this period, Nostradamus became interested in mystic and occult practices, birthing his seeing side. But despite his fame as a seer, Nostradamus regarded himself more as a man of science than mysticism. Either way, Nostradamus's life as a seer was quite adventurous. His most famous work, Les Prophecies, was first published in 1555 and has become a reference point to the world ever since. The book contains 942 poetic quatrains and 4-line verses written in a highly symbolic and allegorical style. These quatrains are organized into centuries, each containing 100 quatrains, although the 7th century famously contains only 42. Les Prophecies has remained continuously in print since its initial publication, underscoring its lasting impact and the enduring intrigue surrounding Nostradamus's predictions. Now, we move to the exciting part. As its name implies, the quatrains in Les Prophéties cover many prophecies, from natural disasters and wars to the rise and fall of leaders and empires. Nostradamus lived in an era when the lines between science, astrology, and the occult were often blurred. So, to avoid the severe consequences of being labeled a heretic or sorcerer by the church, he deliberately, cryptically, and obscurely wrote his predictions using Greek, Latin, and Provençal alongside mixed words. This method protected him from potential persecution and added an aura of mystery to his work, inviting various interpretations over the centuries, some of which will blow your mind. According to some interpretations of Nostradamus's prophecies, Nostradamus has accurately predicted major events such as the Great Fire of London, the French Revolution, the rise of Napoleon and Hitler, and even the September 11th attacks. Wondering about the details? Keep watching. There are very few people who can fathom this. However, Nostradamus was a unique man who could predict his death in 1566 at 62. According to legend, he told his secretary, Jean de Chavigny, "You will not find me alive at sunrise."
Nostradamus was known as a prophet, so it should come as no surprise that his last words were also prophetic in nature. It is said that he proclaimed to his secretary, "Tomorrow at sunrise, I shall no longer be here."
Indeed, Nostradamus passed away on July 2, 1566, at 62, confirming his prediction and further cementing his reputation as a seer. Contrary to what you'd expect, he had led a relatively peaceful life and had died a natural death, having suffered from gout for several years. Before his death, he had allegedly made the townsmen swear to not disturb his resting place by exhuming his body. Yet it would happen that decades after this, his body would be exhumed. However, close to his remains was found a book where Nostradamus had written exactly when his body would be exhumed and place a curse on those involved. While this is one intriguing testament to his prophetic giftings, other mind-blowing prophecies have been credited to the mysterious man. But perhaps it will intrigue you the most to know that Nostradamus had also spoken about 2024 __ the year you're living through. But what did he have to say about 2024? As it turns out, Nostradamus had much to say about 2024, which he wrote in Les Prophecies. One of them is a terrifying prophecy about a significant earthquake in Japan that seems to have occurred already, surprisingly. In the prophecy, a great shaking of the earth in the eastern land is described. For many interpreters, this is linked to Japan, an eastern land known for its seismic activity. To everyone's surprise, a powerful earthquake did strike Japan on New Year's Day in 2024. The earthquake was massive, having a magnitude of 7.5, stirring up a gigantic tsunami while destroying major infrastructure. Sad as it was, the event reignited interest in Nostradamus's predictions and his supposed ability to foresee events centuries in advance. The Japan earthquake has renewed scrutiny of Nostradamus's writings and debates over the accuracy and validity of his prophecies. While skeptics argue that his quatrains are too vague and open to numerous interpretations, often fitting events only in hindsight, believers see these alignments as proof of his prophetic gift, maintaining that Nostradamus possessed a unique ability to peer into the future. So does this mean we have to worry about other prophecies of Nostradamus for 2024? If so, what other prophecies has he made concerning 2024? Nostradamus's predictions for 2024. Suppose there is one thing Nostradamus is known for. It would be his cryptic and often unsettling prophecies which have stayed the same, even as we consider his predictions for 2024. Here, one of the most compelling and provocative predictions attributed to Nostradamus concerns the Catholic Church, specifically the potential death of Pope Francis in 2024 and the subsequent election of a new pope. This forecast raises questions about the leadership within the Vatican and the broader implications for the Church's role in a rapidly changing world. Pope Francis, who became the head of the Catholic Church in 2013, has been a transformative figure. Known for his humble lifestyle, progressive views on social issues, and emphasis on compassion and inclusivity, he has endeared himself to millions worldwide. His papacy has been marked by efforts to reform the Church, address scandals, and bring it closer to the concerns of ordinary people. However, according to Nostradamus's prophecies, all of these would end in 2024, and the Pope would be replaced by someone new. But that is not all in terms of someone getting replaced, according to Nostradamus's 2024 prophecies. Impressively, Nostradamus's prophecies for 2024 also seem to have touched on the royal family of Great Britain. This prophecy states, "The King of the Isles will be driven out by force." Here, interpretations point to none other than the current occupant of the throne, who is King Charles III. Here, the prophecy states he would be forced out of the throne, though the means through which this would happen remains unknown. Interpreters refer to the current diagnosis of King Charles III with cancer.
Stunning news from Buckingham Palace. King Charles has cancer. The palace made the announcement today and says the cancer was discovered during diagnostic tests done after his procedure for an enlarged prostate.
This illness may threaten his occupancy of the throne, but that isn't all. Nostradamus further predicts Britain's future situation, stating that he would be replaced by one who will have no mark of a king. According to interpreters, his replacement would be none other than Prince Harry, the king's seemingly estranged son, who relatively knows nothing about rulership. Because of Charles III's diagnosis, Prince Harry has recently returned to London, further strengthening the interpretation that he might be the land's future king, although this is still mere speculation. Now let's get to the more terrifying part of Nostradamus's predictions for 2024. According to Nostradamus, 2024 will be marked by significant climate change impacts, including severe droughts, catastrophic floods, and a spate of natural disasters. Interestingly, Nostradamus's followers and interpreters have somehow managed to tie these prophecies to contemporary events, pointing to the increasingly evident signs of global climate change, such as rising temperatures, erratic weather patterns, and the growing frequency of extreme weather events. In his quatrains, Nostradamus wrote about the heavens opening and the fields burning with heat. Many believe this imagery corresponds to the record-breaking heat waves and wildfires that have become more frequent in recent years. Just last year, the world recorded one of the hottest years ever. However, 2024 promises to be worse, with the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration stating that there is a 1/3% chance that 2024 will be hotter than 2023. They further noted a 99.9% chance that 2024 would be one of the 5 hottest years. But things don't end there. Nostradamus also references rivers of blood and cities laid waste by water. These have been interpreted as prophetic visions of the devastating floods and sea level rise impacting various parts of the world. These natural disasters are not only seen as environmental phenomena, but also as portents of more significant, more systemic issues related to climate change. Now, we must confirm that 2024 in particular has seen an intensification of these climate-related events. Severe droughts have gripped large swaths of the planet, causing water shortages and threatening agriculture and food security. Simultaneously, other regions have experienced unprecedented flooding, displacing millions of people and causing extensive damage to infrastructure. In cases of extreme weather predictions, we have the likes of North America experiencing immense snowstorms. In contrast, India experiences dense fog and cold waves. These events align disturbingly well with Nostradamus's ominous predictions, fueling a sense of urgency among his followers and the general public, and amplifying calls for immediate and decisive action to combat climate change. But what about the Bible? What does it say about Nostradamus's prophecies? Although the Bible did not explicitly mention Nostradamus and it was written long before the seer came to be, it provides a guiding light on how believers must relate with their prophets and prophecies. In Matthew 24:11, the Bible says, "And many false prophets shall rise and deceive many." The book of Matthew 7:15 also says, "Beware of the false prophets, who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves." This means that we ought to be careful of what we believe in and must trust in the Holy Spirit to help us discern what is true and false. While it is easy to take cues on the future from random seers, it is best that we consider what Jesus himself had to say about the future. In Matthew 24, Mark 13, and Luke 21, Jesus speaks of the future, mentioning significant events that would occur, which indicate the last days. The previous days here refer to the period before the world's end. According to Jesus, nations will rise against nations and kingdom against kingdom. This is reminiscent of the current wars ongoing between nations.
Welcome to the programme. We begin in Gaza, where Israeli forces have killed 5 children after bombing a mosque and a school housing displaced people.
Jesus also stated that there would be great earthquakes in the world alongside food shortages and pestilences like the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. While this does not confirm whether Nostradamus is an actual seer, it confirms some of Nostradamus's prophecies about 2024. You might be wondering if Nostradamus had also prophesied about events beyond 2024. While Nostradamus never openly attributed his prophecies to designated years, some scholars and interpreters have studied his prophecies, drawing out interpretations for designated years. Amongst these interpretations, prophecies concerning the years 2025 to 2030 have also been derived. Some will amaze you. According to his followers and interpreters, Nostradamus's prophecies about 2025 to 2030 include the coming of the Antichrist, a terrible figure prophesied about in the scriptures. The Antichrist would be a significant opponent to the Messiah, who would gather many to himself, deceive the world, defile the holy temple, command world powers, and be worshipped. His end would only come when he is brought down by Messiah, who would save the world from his deceptive claws. According to interpretations, Nostradamus has also prophesied that World War III would happen between these years, stating that it would involve significant world powers and be highly destructive. The exact time for this event is, however, not mentioned. There are also prophecies about future massive earthquakes claiming thousands of lives. This goes hand in hand with prophecies about extinction-level catastrophes that would shake the world. However, the timing of these events is not specified. So, how accurate are these prophecies, and will they be fulfilled? Some may argue that these prophecies are subject to interpretations and could have been misinterpreted. However, when we consider other interpretations of Nostradamus's prophecies that were accurate and have shockingly come to pass, this argument is brushed to the side. But what are these prophecies? Past prophecies of Nostradamus. One of the most frequently cited examples of Nostradamus's past prophecies is the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in 1963. In his prophecy, Nostradamus speaks of the death of a great man, which many believe points directly to President Kennedy. This interpretation is strengthened by the prophecy's mention of controversy and betrayal surrounding the assassination. On November 22, 1963, Kennedy was fatally shot while riding in a motorcade in Dallas, Texas. The alleged assassin, Lee Harvey Oswald, was arrested shortly after, but was killed by nightclub owner Jack Ruby before he could stand trial, adding to the air of mystery and conspiracy that still shrouds the event. The prophecy's relevance is often highlighted by the enduring questions and numerous conspiracy theories that surround Kennedy's assassination. Despite the Warren Commission's conclusion that Oswald acted alone, many people remain unconvinced. Various alternative theories have emerged over the decades, suggesting the involvement of multiple parties, including the CIA, the Mafia, and even foreign governments. However, President John F. Kennedy is not Nostradamus's prediction concerning the death of a historical figure. Another such prophecy is the prophecy about the death of King Henry II of France. Concerning this event, Nostradamus wrote, "The young lion will overcome the older one, on the battlefield in a single combat. He will pierce his eyes through a golden cage, 2 wounds become 1, and he dies a cruel death." These words were fulfilled during a friendly duel between the king and the Count of Montgomery in 1559. Here, Montgomery's spear accidentally hit through King's eye and temple, leading to an 11-day battle for his life before he finally died.
He will put out his eyes in a cage of gold, 2 fleets 1, then he dies a cruel death.
Another major prophecy of Nostradamus, which seems to have shaken the world, is the prophecy about the rise of Adolf Hitler. First, Hitler's early life was marked by struggle and hardship. Born in 1889 in Braunau am Inn, Austria, he faced a turbulent childhood with a strict father and a challenging school life. These humble beginnings seem to echo Nostradamus's description of a young child born of poor people who would rise to great prominence. Despite his initial failures, including being rejected twice by the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna, Hitler's path to power began to take shape after his service in World War I and his involvement with the German Workers' Party, which he later transformed into the National Socialist German Workers' Party, known as the Nazi Party. Nostradamus's quatrains also speak of a great leader whose tongue shall seduce a great multitude. This is often seen as a reference to Hitler's remarkable oratory skills, which played a crucial role in his rise to power. His speeches, charged with nationalistic fervor and his vision for Germany's future, captivated and mobilized a population disillusioned by economic hardship and political instability in the post-World War I era. Hitler's ability to tap into the collective angst and aspirations of the German people was instrumental in his ascent. As Hitler's influence grew, he formed strategic alliances to pave the way for his aggressive expansionist policies. Nostradamus's prophecies mentioning beasts ferocious with hunger that would cross rivers are often linked to the alliances and invasions that characterized the Nazi regime. Hitler's pact with Italy under Mussolini and the non-aggression treaty with the Soviet Union were critical in his early military successes and the swift territorial expansions that led to the outbreak of World War II. Another remarkable prophecy of Nostradamus that has come to pass includes the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This cataclysmic event unfolded in Japan during World War II. In his writings, Nostradamus makes mention of heavenly darts, leading many to draw connections to the atomic bombings of August 6 and 9, 1945, when the world witnessed the unleashing of unprecedented destruction. The nuclear bombs dropped by the United States on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, respectively, instantly incinerated thousands of lives and left behind a landscape of unimaginable horror. The scale of the devastation seemed to echo the apocalyptic imagery evoked in Nostradamus's prophecies. Among the many figures whose destinies have been foretold by Nostradamus, very few capture the attention of the indomitable Napoleon Bonaparte, whose rise from obscurity to imperial glory was said to have been written in the stars. Here, Nostradamus's prophecy mentions a Corsican blood rising to power, rejecting aristocratic privilege for ambition and military skill. This aligns with Napoleon's journey from humble beginnings in Corsica to his daring campaigns across Europe. As Napoleon's armies swept across the continent, conquering city after city, the similarities to Nostradamus's prophecy became striking. From the battlefields of Austerlitz to the grandeur of the Tuileries Palace, Napoleon's rise to imperial power was noteworthy, with Nostradamus's prophecies foretelling his reign, from his victories to his defeat at Waterloo. Interestingly, Nostradamus had also prophesied about the 18th century French Revolution, when the deprived masses would break the chains of the wealthy aristocrats and rise against them. In his quatrains, Nostradamus declares, "They will be driven away forever, repulsed, all their supporters put to death and burnt. One who fleeing into a forest will be overtaken by the woods." According to interpretations, these words refer to the overthrowing of the French aristocracy and the subsequent reign of terror, where many nobles were executed. In his writing, he also seemed to have foretold the temporary unity during the early stages of the Revolution and the later restoration of the Bourbon monarchy. One of his verses is even thought to describe the fall of the Bastille, the execution of King Louis XVI, and the general turmoil of the Revolution. But it gets more interesting to understand that Nostradamus had also prophesied about the Great Fire of London in 1666. The Great Fire of London is one of the most well-documented disasters in London's history, and many believe Nostradamus foresaw it in one of his quatrains. His prophecy described a massive fire engulfing a significant city, leading to widespread devastation. In September 1666, a small fire that started in a bakery on Pudding Lane quickly grew out of control, fueled by wooden buildings and a strong wind. The fire raged for 4 days, destroying around 87 churches, 13,200 houses, and numerous other buildings, including iconic structures like St. Paul's Cathedral. Despite the extensive damage, the fire resulted in relatively few deaths, though it left tens of thousands of people homeless. The fire's aftermath was a period of significant rebuilding and transformation for London. The city's reconstruction was led by architect Sir Christopher Wren, who redesigned St. Paul's Cathedral and many other buildings, introducing more modern fire-resistant materials and street layouts. This reconstruction effort helped shape London into a more resilient and better-planned city. Now, seeing how some of Nostradamus's past prophecies have come to pass, it is clear that Nostradamus is someone to pay attention to regarding his predictions for the future. However, this doesn't mean that the astrologer has not been wrong with his prophecies a couple of times. One of his prophecies that did not come true is the truth about Turkey conquering the Balkans. In his writing, he states, "Very much before such intrigues those of the East under the moon, the year 1700, they will cause great ones to be carried off, almost subjugating the Aquilon corner." According to interpretations, the prophecy means that Ottoman Turks would conquer and take over many of the Balkan Peninsula. Still, Peter the Great of Russia would eventually drive it out. The moon is thought to symbolize Islam's crescent moon, while Aquilon refers to the Greek gods of the north wind. The problem with this prophecy is that the Balkans are not in the north, but in the southwest of Europe. Secondly, contrary to the prophecy, the Turks had beaten Peter the Great and his army in the Pruth River campaign in 1711. Russia and Turkey continued their fight 200 years later in the Crimean War and World War I. With this being said, it is clear that Nostradamus was not 100% right all the time, so we must be vigilant in how we take his prophecies and wait, because only time will tell what's real and what is not. What do you think of these prophecies? Let us know in the comments section below.